That is a 23-minute video finishing its render. 16 graphics, 106 handwritten animations, 35,599 frames. And that number in the corner is the one I want you to look at. Network calls to an AI model during that render? Zero. Not a few, not cheap ones, zero. That render does not know whether Claude is up. It cannot know. There is nothing in it that asks. Now here's the other screen. Last Wednesday, August 5th, Anthropic's own status timeline logged an outage of 7 hours and 29 minutes. Claude.ai, Claude Code, and the API, all down together. The day before that, about 10 hours of elevated errors. And that was the 164th documented outage since January. And it was not one model having a bad afternoon. That incident hit Mythos 5, Fable 5, Opus 5, and Sonnet 5. All of them, at once. Which means the obvious in-house workaround, fine, I will just drop down to the smaller model for a few hours, was also gone. Same building. Let me be straight with you about one thing right now, because this whole channel falls apart if I am not. I did not render that video during the outage. Claude was up when I made it. I am not going to stand here and tell you a dramatic story about beating an outage that I was not in. What I am telling you is that it would not have mattered. And I can show you exactly why, on my actual pipeline, in about 10 minutes. So here's the question this video is really about. If your AI tool went dark right now, for 7.5 hours, in the middle of your working day, how much of your channel stops? Most people have never asked, and the ones who have asked mostly got handed the wrong answer. Because the answer you hear everywhere is, have a backup model, keep ChatGPT open, keep Gemini in a tab. If one goes down, swap. That is not wrong exactly. It is just aimed at the wrong thing entirely. And I want to take that answer seriously for a second before I take it apart, because plenty of smart people give it. Try actually doing it. It is 2 in the afternoon, your tool is dark, and you open the competitor. Now, where are your instructions? The ones you spent 4 months tuning, that say who this channel is for, and what you will not publish, and how you want to be spoken to. They are in the other tool. Where are the documents you attach to every request? Other tool. Where is the conversation from Monday that this one continues? Other tool. So the backup model is not a backup. It is a stranger. You are not swapping a component out. You are starting a new working relationship at the worst possible hour of the worst possible day. And the first thing you have to do is spend an hour telling it everything the other one already knew. That is not redundancy. That is a second full-time job you only find out about during an emergency. Here is the thing nobody tells you about building on top of an AI model. The model is the most replaceable part of your stack. It is the part with 4 competitors, all of them a browser tab away, all of them about equally good at the one job you actually use it for. The parts that are not replaceable are the parts you built. And most people have arranged it exactly backwards. They have made the replaceable thing load-bearing and left the thing that is actually theirs sitting in a chat window that disappears when the tab closes. I am Tim. I run 3 faceless channels on my own with an avatar, a script, and a workflow. There is no camera pointed at me right now, and there was no editor involved in what you are watching. Let's get into it. Let me give you the rest of the numbers first, because they matter for a reason that is not the obvious one. 164 outages since January. Third-party monitoring puts that at roughly 1 incident every 1.3 days across 2026. In the same stretch, Anthropic locked in about $71 billion of chip financing, a $35 billion facility, and a second one targeting at least $36 billion, both inside about 60 days. And the revenue went from around $9 billion annualized at the end of last year to about $19 billion in early March, $30 billion in early April, $47 billion by mid-May. Now, what do you do with those 3 facts together? The lazy read is, the company is a mess, get out. That is not what those numbers say at all. Look at them again. Revenue up more than 5-fold in under 5 months. $71 billion committed to buying compute. That is not a company falling apart. That is a company being crushed by its own demand and spending everything it can borrow to catch up. And that is exactly why the outages are not a temporary problem you can wait out. Read it plainly. Demand is growing faster than the capacity can be financed, built, and plugged in. Chips ordered today are not serving traffic today. So the gap between what people are asking these systems to do and what the systems can actually do is not closing on any schedule that helps you this quarter. Which means this is the weather now, not a storm, the climate. And you do not fix the weather. You build for it. One more thing before we do, and this is the part of the story that almost nobody talks about because it does not make a headline. Go back to the day before, August 4th. That was not a hard outage. That was about 10 hours of elevated errors. Think about what that actually looks like from your desk. Nothing announces itself. There is no status banner in your face, no "we are down" message. The thing answers. It is just slower, and it drops requests. And some of what comes back is worse than what you would normally get. A hard outage is honest. It stops you. You notice. You go and do something else. 10 hours of degradation is not honest. It lets you keep working, and it quietly lowers the quality of everything you produce during it, and then you publish that. I think that is the more expensive failure mode by a distance, and it is invisible in every uptime chart you will ever look at, because the service was technically up the whole time. You cannot engineer around that with a backup model, because you will not know to switch. The only defense is the same one this whole video is about: having a written standard that the work has to clear before it goes out, so that a bad afternoon gets caught by the standard instead of shipped because it looked fine at the time. So let's stop talking about Anthropic and start talking about your pipeline, because that is the only part of this you control. Here is the exercise. It takes about 10 minutes and you can do it on a napkin. Write your pipeline down the left-hand side. Every step, start to finish, from "I have no idea what to make" to "it is live." Do not summarize. If it is a thing you actually do on a Tuesday, it goes on the list. Then 2 columns on the right. Column 1, dies. Column 2, does not care. And for every step, you ask one question. Not, does this involve AI? The question is, if the model is unreachable for the next 7 hours, does this step stop? That distinction is the whole exercise, and almost everybody gets it wrong the first time, because they mark every step that has the word AI anywhere near it as dead. That is not what you are measuring. You are measuring what actually calls out to a server that might not answer. Let me run mine. 9 steps. I will tell you the honest answer on each one. Step 1. Deciding what the video is. Reading what is being hyped this week, deciding what is worth puncturing, matching it to something I can actually prove. That is judgment. It reads like the most sophisticated step in the whole pipeline, and it is the least technical thing I do all week. Does not care. I read the news with my eyes. Step 2. Writing the script. Dies. Completely. This is the one. This is my actual dependency, and I am not going to soften it. When Claude is down, I do not write. That is the step. Step 3. Fact-checking what I just wrote. Does not care. Every claim in this video traces back to a page I opened in a browser and read. A status timeline. A financing announcement. That is not generation. That is reading. And reading works when the model is dark. And here's where it gets interesting, because that step is more reliable without the model, not less. I have been burned by this exact thing. A fetched summary told me a policy page said something it did not say, and it nearly went on air. The fix was opening the actual page. The unreliable version of that step was the automated one. Step 4. Rendering the presenter, the avatar, the voice. Does not care. About Claude. Different vendor entirely. Which is a real answer, and also a warning I will come back to, because I have not solved it, I have only moved it. Step 5. The captions. Does not care. They come back attached to the render. Step 6. The graphics. The whiteboard, every card, every animation you have been watching. Does not care. And this is the one people are most surprised by. That is not generated footage. It is a program. It takes the caption file and the card artwork and it draws. Same input, same output, every single time, forever. It runs on a laptop with the Wi-Fi switched off. 16 cards, 106 animations, 0 calls to anything. Step 7. Titles, description, keyword research. Does not care. That is a keyword tool and a decision. The tool is a different vendor with a different failure mode. Step 8. The thumbnail. This one is honestly mixed, and it depends entirely on how you build it. If your thumbnail is a generated image, it dies. If it is a photo and text laid out in a template you already own, it does not care. I moved mine into the second column on purpose, and I would tell you to do the same, because thumbnails are the step you most often need to redo at the last minute. Step 9. Uploading and scheduling. Does not care. So let's count it. 9 steps. 8 of them do not care. 1 of them stops. And I want you to sit with how strange that is, because it is the opposite of what it feels like from the inside. It feels like an AI pipeline. People describe it as an AI pipeline. I have described it as an AI pipeline. It is 1 step. 1 step out of 9 actually requires the model, and it happens to be the first creative one, which is why it feels like the whole thing. Now let me run it on a stack that is not mine, because mine has a bunch of custom pieces in it, and yours almost certainly does not. Here is the setup I see most often. Ideas come from a trend tool. Script comes from ChatGPT. Voice comes from ElevenLabs. Footage is either stock clips or generated clips. The edit happens in CapCut. Thumbnail comes out of Canva, usually with a generated image in it. Then upload. 7 steps. Run the question. Ideas from a trend tool. That is a different vendor from your model. So a model outage does not touch it. Does not care. Script from ChatGPT. Dies. Voice from ElevenLabs. Different vendor. Does not care about a Claude outage. Dies in an ElevenLabs one. Same sleight of hand as mine. Footage. And here it splits. And the split is the whole lesson. Stock clips you already downloaded sit on your drive. Does not care. Clips you generate on demand. Dies. The edit in CapCut. Runs on your machine. Does not care. Thumbnail with a generated image in it. Dies. Upload. Does not care. So on a very normal faceless setup, 3 of 7 are in the dies column, and 2 of those 3 did not have to be. The footage did not have to be generated on demand. The thumbnail image did not have to be generated at all. Notice what that means. 2 of your 3 failure points are not really about the outage. They are about a habit of asking a server for something at the exact moment you need it, instead of having gotten it earlier and put it somewhere you own. Now here is the move, and this is the part worth 10 minutes of your Tuesday. You do not fix a dies column step by finding a backup model for it. You fix it by asking whether it needed to be in that column at all. Take the graphics. The generated version of that step. Describe a clip, wait, pay, get something almost right, try again. Is expensive, slow, different every time, and dies when the vendor dies. The written down version is a program that runs offline and produces the identical frame on the 1000th run. Same job. Completely different column. And the thing that moved it was not a better model. It was deciding once, in writing, what the graphics should look like. Take titles, since that is a step nobody thinks of this way. The fragile version is outline done, open the model, ask for 20 title ideas, pick one. That step dies, and worse, it produces something slightly different in character every single time, which is part of why small channels look like 5 different channels wearing the same logo. The durable version is a written filter. Mine is 5 questions a title has to answer before I am allowed to publish it. Is it pegged to something real this week? Does it serve exactly one person? Does it puncture something the viewer has heard everywhere? Is there a specific number or tool in it? Does it visibly touch their money? That filter is a text file. It does not need a server. And when I do hand a title to a model, I hand it the filter too, so it is doing a narrow job inside a decision I already made. That is the pattern for every step. A decision you made once and wrote down does not need a server. A decision you remake every time by asking a model to make it for you does. And the second one is not just fragile, it is why the output drifts. A rented decision is re-rolled every time you make it. A written one holds still. Now the part where I tell you what I have not fixed, because a video like this is worthless if it is only a list of things I got right. 3 of them. The first one. Look back at step 4, the avatar. I said it does not care about Claude going down, and that is true, and it is also a sleight of hand. It does not care about Claude because it depends on HeyGen instead. I did not remove a dependency there. I moved it to a company that happens not to have been in the news last Wednesday. If HeyGen goes dark on a Tuesday, I do not have a presenter. And unlike the script step, I cannot do that one by hand at 2 in the morning if I have to. That is the single biggest unfixed hole in this pipeline, and I am telling you about it because you have the same hole, and I would rather you know it is there. The second one. That script step does not just die, it dies at the worst possible moment. 8 steps survive an outage, but the one that stops is the one at the front. And a pipeline where step 2 is blocked is a pipeline where steps 3 through 9 have nothing to work on. So, 1 out of 9 is the honest arithmetic, and it is also a slightly flattering way to say it. On a writing day, a 7.5-hour outage costs me the day. What actually saves me is not resilience, it is that I do not write and render on the same day. That is a scheduling decision, not a technical one, and it is doing more work than any of my clever code. The third one. I pay for Claude and I will keep paying for it. None of this is stop using AI. I would not have written a word of this script without it, and if it had been down on the day I wrote it, I would have waited for it rather than write it worse alone. The model is genuinely good at the one job I give it. The argument is not that the model is bad. It is that the model is rented, and everything you rent can be taken away for 7.5 hours without asking you. So what do you actually own? Not the model, not the avatar vendor, not the keyword tool. You own the decisions you have written down. That is the whole list. Let me name them, because write things down is the kind of advice that sounds like nothing until somebody shows you the actual list. There is a document that says who this channel is for, in one sentence, and who it is explicitly not for. That second half does more work than the first. There is the title filter I just described. 5 questions, and a video does not get made if it fails one. There is a rule that says nothing goes on air without a number I can point at a source for, and a companion rule, written after I got it wrong, that says a dashboard is a claim and not a source, so the number gets checked against the money before it gets spoken. There is a running log of every mistake this operation has made, with what it cost and what changed because of it. That one is ugly to keep, and it is probably the most valuable file I own. And there is the program that draws the graphics the same way every time. Those are text files on a hard drive. They cost nothing to run. No vendor can take them offline, raise the price of them, deprecate them, or have a bad Wednesday with them. And they are the only reason the model is useful to me at all. Because when I do ask it for something, I am handing it the accumulated judgment of about a year, and asking it to do a very small, very specific job inside it. That is the actual asset. It was never the subscription. And here is the uncomfortable version, so I will just say it. If your entire operation lives inside a chat window, if the thing that makes your channel yours is a conversation you had that you cannot find again, then you do not have a system. You have a habit. And a habit goes down for 7.5 hours when the servers do. Write it down. That is it. That is the whole move. The tools got extraordinary and unreliable at exactly the same time, and the people who come through that are the ones whose judgment lives somewhere a server cannot reach. 2 things, and I am going to be straight about which is which. The graphics program I have been talking about, the one that draws every card in this video with no calls to anything, is on GitHub. It is free. There is no email form, nothing to sign up for, no gate. Go take it and run it offline. It works. And if you want the whole build, the decision documents, the operating system, the full workflow that runs 3 channels, that is the AI channel blueprint on my site. And that is a paid course. It starts at $497. I am telling you the price because you will find it in one click anyway, and I would rather say it than have you catch it. But you do not need either link for this one. Here is the whole thing, and it is 3 steps. 1. Write your pipeline down the left. Every step you actually do, not the tidy version. 2. Mark each one dies or does not care, and be honest. The question is whether it calls a server, not whether it feels like AI. 3. Take the single easiest thing in the dies column and move it, not the hardest, the easiest. If your thumbnails use a generated image, that is usually the one. Swap it for a template you own, and you have removed a failure point in an afternoon. Then do the same thing next month with the next easiest one. That is it. That is the whole program. You are not trying to get to 0 because you cannot. The writing step is going to sit in that column, and it should. If exactly one step is in the dies column, you have built something. If it is 7, you have not got a system yet. You have a subscription, and it goes down about once every 1.3 days. I'll see you on the next one.